This week on the show, Whatnot hits a big number. eBay wins a big lawsuit. Vinted makes a big announcement in the UK. And I've got a big What's Old recap. What is up, Galaxians? It has been a week. Welcome to episode number 267 of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and I'm going to be your host. We've got a little bit of reselling news yet to go over. Like I said, it has been a nuts week. I have had a couple of occasions where I have dropped a special episode when there's been a particularly big announcement, but I don't think I've ever had a week until this past week where I dropped two special episode. So if you haven't been following along, there have been two big news announcements. The first one, eBay in the UK going fee-free for private sellers, but coming down the pike with potentially a buyer fee early next year. And then Poshmark here in the US made a big fee change, splitting the fees between buyers and sellers and adding 3 tiers of fixed rate fees to those programs. So a couple of videos for you to watch if you haven't caught those. That was probably the biggest news of the week, those two things. So I did cover those in separate episodes. I'm not going to rehash all that stuff here for you this week in the main show, but we do have a little bit of stuff, a couple of things from eBay, a big announcement over at Whatnot, some activity over at Vinted in the UK that's really interesting. And then at the end, I have got the biggest What's Old recap I think I have done here in a very long time. I think I've got 18 things to share with you, which coincides nicely with the fact that this week is the 5th anniversary of me going full-time as a reseller. So it was 5 years ago, October 1st was my first day working down here in the Batcave full-time as a reseller. And looking back at what I have learned and what I have accomplished and what I have had an opportunity to share with all of you, it has been a fantastic journey thus far, and hopefully there's many more years to come. But it was just kind of came at me out of nowhere. I just realized that it had been 5 years now. So pretty cool stuff. As always, I will leave timestamps in the video description and the show notes down below. So if you want to go to a particular segment, you can do that. But with all of that out of the way, let's jump into this reselling news.
News updates.
So there's been some conversation, some of it on this channel when David Lee was here with us a few weeks ago about whether or not live selling was really successful here in the United States. And Whatnot has just put that argument to rest. Whatnot hits $2 billion gross merchandise volume mark, releases State of Live Stream Selling Report. They had a really interesting week, a huge announcement. $2 billion is a massive, massive number. I had no idea that they were doing that kind of volume. This article appears over on Value Added Resource, and I will, of course, link to this and all of the other ones that I quote today in the show notes and the video description down below. Live stream shopping site Whatnot is starting Q4 off with a bang, releasing their first State of Live Stream Selling Report and revealing over $2 billion in sales made through the platform so far in 2024. So we're going into Q4, which is arguably the busiest time of year, and they've already recorded $2 billion in GMV. That is just fantastic. If you're a seller over on Whatnot, let me know if you were aware of this report and let us know how you're doing. I've seen some videos from sellers with some kind of mixed things. I was watching Dixon's Pickens the other day, and he was highlighting a couple of items that he thought would have brought more money had he sold them on eBay. And that is something that I have seen some other sellers say, that it seems like they're selling a lot of stuff over there and they're doing really well, but there are some things that probably would be better served elsewhere. So I'd be curious to hear in the comments down below, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, what your experience has been. The company provided highlights of the report in a blog post this week showing the results of a survey that they conducted with 1,613, cool number, Whatnot sellers and 500 sellers from across various other live shopping platforms to gauge how live stream selling boosts revenue streams and expands customer bases, as well as the broader impact on the economy. They said, thanks to your dedication, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or running a brick and mortar store, we've reached an exciting milestone. surpassing again $2 billion in live stream sales in 2024 alone. This achievement is a direct reflection of the hard work and passion that drives your success. We're also excited to share that more than 175,000 hours of live streams are hosted by you each week. That is a massive amount of live selling, and that this exceeds QVC's weekly broadcast hours by 800x. Our global growth has been just as exciting. So far this year, UK sales have grown 155% from January to September, while sales from live stream in France have grown by an average of 73% quarter over quarter. And over in Germany, a Pokemon card is sold every 30 seconds on Whatnot. So really interesting times over at Whatnot. I'm not over there yet, but man, maybe I need to get in on the action. According to the report, live stream selling is making a significant impact on businesses' bottom lines. 2/3 of sellers earn more than $10,000 a month through live stream selling. That's a massive number. Meanwhile, 1 in 4 sellers reports making over $300,000 annually. Small businesses are using live shopping to open up new revenue streams. 3 out of 4 sellers reported increases in their overall business revenue since starting on a live shopping platform, while 41% of sellers said they now generate more than half of their total annual sales from live selling alone. Live selling is also creating jobs. 64% of sellers hire others to support their thriving e-com businesses. At least 1 in 3 sellers employs over 6 people. So these are some pretty big operations that are selling on these live platforms, Whatnot, and some of the others. Live stream e-commerce, they say, is here to stay. 92% of sellers consider live stream selling very important to their business's long-term success, and 88% have plans to increase their live stream selling efforts next year. Most Whatnot sellers are millennials, according to the Whatnot user survey. Over half, 54%, identified as Gen Y, which is ages 28 to 43, while Gen X, 44 to 59, hi, I'm one of them, made up about 29% of respondents. 5% of live sellers identify as boomers. So based on my stats, most of you that are listening to this podcast or are watching it on YouTube probably fall into the Gen X and boomer category. I'm not seeing a lot of Gen Y and millennials in my stats on YouTube. Gen Z is making bank. Even though Zoomers are just beginning to make their mark on social commerce, 12% identified as in that age group. Nearly 1 in 4 Gen Z Whatnot sellers reported earning over $120,000 annually. This far surpasses the median income for Gen Z workers, which is estimated to be about $45,493, according to a recent report by TransUnion. Live selling brings Main Street USA to the mainstream. Sellers don't need to live in a major metropolitan market to be successful. 1 in 5, 20% of Whatnot sellers reside in rural settings, compared to 43 who live in urban areas and 37 who identify as being located in the suburbs. Sneakers are the most frequently sold item by live sellers, much to the delight of sneakerheads everywhere, they say. 30% of live sellers say they sell the kicks. That's closely followed by sports, collectibles, and men's fashion, both at 29%, beauty at 17%, women's fashion 15%, and handbags, jewelry, and accessories at 9%. Emerging categories that they see include electronics at 8%, antiques at 7%, and coins at 4%. This was really interesting as well. The average Whatnot buyer purchases over 12 items a week on the platform. That is insane to me. Talk about generating loyalty and repeat business. Let me know, again, if you're a seller on Whatnot, does that represent the kind of results you're seeing? Or was this something that just was kind of really highlighted in the survey, depending on who they ask? 12 items a week per average buyer is a remarkable number for repeat business and loyalty. Super, super strong. A recent Whatnot shopper survey revealed the top reasons buyers tune in are to get a product they want at 66%, to get a deal, 53%. That's what I hear from a lot of sellers. To be entertained, 46%, which is something else I hear quite a bit, that it is a community experience. It's not just the selling of the stuff, that there is a show that goes on that's associated with it. So a lot of people are tuning in just for that. And lastly, to watch a seller they like at 43%. That's why month over month customer retention on Whatnot is 62%, which is just fantastic. There's a quick breakdown of the methodology that they used. for the survey and some links if you want to go review a little bit more. They also did just announce over on Whatnot free shipping for first time U.S. buyers up to $25 initially in the iOS app, but it'll also be coming to Android, web, and international soon. So there are going to be some perks for new buyers over on Whatnot. So despite some skepticism about the strength of live selling in the U.S. market, Whatnot is absolutely crushing it. So good on them. Speaking of crushing it, eBay has won a big lawsuit, which is going to have repercussions for other online platforms as well. This is a really big deal, and I don't know that it's been covered quite as extensively as you would have thought. A federal judge has dismissed a U.S. Department of Justice lawsuit accusing eBay of violating environmental laws by allowing the sale of hundreds of thousands of harmful products on its platform, including pesticides and devices to evade motor vehicle pollution controls. U.S. District Judge Aurelia Merchant in Brooklyn ruled on Monday that Section 230 of the Federal Communications Decency Act, which protects online platforms from liability over user content, shielded eBay from liability in the civil lawsuit. Why this is such a big deal is, as far as I know, this is the first case that has gone to trial where one of these platforms has attempted to use Section 230 as their kind of get out of jail free card, saying that they are not responsible for the content that users post on their platform. The original intent, if I'm not mistaken, of this particular provision was to protect social media companies, Facebook and Instagram and X/Twitter, from being held liable for things that commenters and posters said on their platform. Now, this judge is saying that the same rule, the same Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, protects retail platforms from the goods that are being sold by their users. I got to admit, I was surprised to see this ruling. I would not have, I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. I say it all the time. I'm just a guy sitting in my basement. That one surprised me. The judge said eBay's administrative and technical support to sellers, quote, does not materially contribute to the product's alleged unlawfulness, unquote, and does not make the San Jose, California company a, quote, publisher or speaker, unquote, on sellers' behalf. They also said eBay was not a seller of some of the challenged products because it did not physically possess them or hold title. She rejected the government's argument that eBay was a seller because it exchanged the products for money. Again, the get out of jail free card here being the fact that eBay never had possession of the goods. The goods were owned and held by the individual sellers. eBay said maintaining a, quote, safe and trusted marketplace was fundamental to its business and said it would continue to invest significant resources to prevent prohibited items from being sold on their platform. In its September 2023 complaint, the Justice Department accused eBay of illegally allowing the sale of more than 343,000 aftermarket defeat devices that help vehicles generate more power and get better fuel economy by evading emissions controls. The company was also accused of allowing 23,000 unregistered, misbranded, or restricted use pesticides to be sold. They also allegedly distributed more than 5,600 paint and coating removal products that contained methylene chloride, a chemical linked to brain and liver cancer and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Good stuff, this. The government said eBay's conduct violated the Clean Air Act, the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, and the Toxic Substances Control Act. But the judge said otherwise. So interesting. And of course, now all of the other platforms, when faced with something like this, have a precedent ruling in this case to point to say that they are not liable for the things that the sellers on their platform try to sell. So this is a really, really huge win for these platforms just generally, but obviously particularly for eBay, who was on the hook for potentially massive fines. Speaking of massive and problems, eBay sellers report missing store categories as Seller Hub changes continue to roll out. I noticed some updates, and for me, I haven't seen anything go missing on mine, but I have found, as I said last week or a couple of weeks ago, there are many, many things that I used to be able to do with one click that now take 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 clicks to get to the same thing, which uh, it's first world problems certainly, but I don't understand how you do a user interface design update that makes it more cumbersome to use. Yes, does it look better? It's sleeker. It is better looking, but it's a lot less functional in my view. You can let me know again in the comments what you think, or if you have experienced this particular problem. A new batch of eBay sellers is being forced into the phased rollout of the new Seller Hub design with disastrous results, causing store categories to go missing from active listings pages. The eBay community forum has been flooded with complaints about the problem over the last few days, with some saying they've contacted support and been told it's a known issue. Went to edit some items in a store category, and several of my categories are missing. I went into my store. The categories are there with 300 plus items. Rebooted the computer, tried another browser, checked some items in that category, and they are listed in that store category. Finally called eBay. After 10 minutes on hold and talking to several people, they have now said it's a known issue, but nothing is on the tech page. Is anyone else missing store categories all of a sudden? Because it was 4 categories I was just working on today. Another seller said, when trying to manage active listings, I click on all categories to see all of my store categories to pick a category that I want to list in. And instead of seeing all my store categories, I'm only seeing 11 of them. It has been like this since yesterday. Is this a known or unknown glitch? Let me know again in the comments if this is something that you experienced and what your opinions are of the new Seller Hub. Again, for my money, it looks good, but it's not nearly as functional. There's things that are much more difficult to find or more cumbersome to get to. So I'm not a huge fan at the moment, but you can let me know what you think. Last thing from eBay, they have tapped PSA as their exclusive authenticator for both raw and graded trading goods. This was probably inevitable. The handwriting's been on the wall for some time on this. PSA is now officially the sole provider of authentication services for both raw and graded trading cards sold through eBay's Authenticity Guarantee program, which kicks the certified collectibles group CGC to the curb. The move expands the continuing partnership between the two companies after eBay acquired Golden Auctions from PSA parent company Collectors while selling off the eBay Vault to PSA earlier this year. So they kind of traded. Ooh, that was close. I got to stop talking with my hands. They kind of traded stuff. One service went to one company and another came to eBay, and it's a really convoluted situation. And there are some questions about the ethics behind all of it as well. Previously, PSA had handled authentication for graded cards in the eBay Authenticity Guarantee program, and CGC took care of the raw cards. But now everything is with PSA. It appears the final switchover occurred sometime in September, with the Internet Archive Wayback Machine showing CGC was still listed in the FAQ back on September 7th, but no longer shown as of September 10th. And again, I harp on this probably more than I should, but this is another example of kind of a lack of transparency and a lack of communication. This was just dropped into kind of the FAQ terms of service stuff. There was no announcement. Again, it's no surprise. We all kind of knew it was coming. The handwriting's been on the wall for months, but no official word from eBay that this was taking place. If you're a trading card seller, let me know if something like this actually matters to you. I don't know if it's that big a deal or if it may actually improve things to be able to get all the cards done by one company. A source told Hobby News Daily that PSA had staffed up to provide bi-coastal coverage, and that one of the reasons behind eBay's decision may have been PSA's success in catching more problem cards and enforcing the authenticity guarantee. The writer said, quote, as an aside, since we've been running the AG program for graded cards for eBay, we've been catching a larger percentage than expected of both fake and significantly not as described items, which has been a great value add, I believe, they said, to buyers of trading cards on eBay. If you are a seller or buyer of trading cards, let me know, have you seen this? Have you tried to sell cards that they kicked back to you as being not as described or improperly graded? If you're a buyer of cards, where you saved some money by not receiving a card that was in subpar condition? I'd be really curious to know what's going on there. It appears that CGC was given plenty of advance notice and time to work out a backup plan, as they recently inked a deal with eBay competitor Fanatics to establish a full-time authentication and grading operation on site at Fanatics Collect facility in Tigard, Oregon, enabling collectors to seamlessly authenticate and grade their collectibles through CGC cards and immediately sell or store them in the Fanatics Collect vault. So it sounds like everybody came out just fine on this deal. I guess my biggest takeaway is it's probably better to have just one company servicing this, but boy, wouldn't it have been nice to have an official announcement. Moving on, we talked earlier in the week in the special episode that I did about eBay UK removing seller fees for private sellers. And there were several people who commented in that video that Vinted Pro was about to come in the UK, and it dropped literally the next day. Vinted Pro launches in the UK will disgruntled eBay sellers switch marketplaces. As competition for UK non-new, in-season, and secondhand merchandise heats up, Vinted launches Vinted Pro, allowing business resellers of clothing, toys, tech accessories, homewares, and more to set up shop on the platform. Previously, Vinted had been strictly a peer-to-peer consumer selling marketplace that strictly forbid commercial sellers, but that's all changed with Vinted Pro, and most importantly, sales on the site will be completely free for business sellers, which will be a big draw because that's the issue everybody on eBay is currently having is private sellers have no fees and professional business registered sellers are still going to pay fees. So this has, I had several people from the UK that commented that Vinted has been cleaning eBay's clock over there anyway, and this could be a big, big win for Vinted to now allow in those professional sellers who are particularly unhappy with eBay. Here's what we know so far. You can become a pro seller on Vinted if you're a sole trader, an entrepreneur, a charity, or a registered company incorporated in Italy, the Netherlands, France, Spain, Portugal, Luxembourg, Belgium, or the UK. It is not available in the US at this time. Once you register for Vinted Pro, you'll be asked to provide additional information and details about your business, including your business registration number, your registered business name, VAT number if your business has one, the representative details and address. For charities or registered companies, business representative details and the registered name, address, a tax identification number, and again, a business registration number. Enter all the details that they're looking for. You must also, of course, agree to their terms of service and terms of sale, which will require, among other things, allowing the buyer to return an item within 14 days of receipt. I don't know if that's a requirement through regulations in the UK. I know it is in the EU because I sell through Etsy over there and I have to have a minimum 14-day return policy. So if you're in the UK, you can let me know, is that a law, a regulation in the UK as well, or are they just using that as a blanket for all of it? Once completed, a pro badge will be applied next to your name on your profile and item pages so you can add additional sellers' policies, if any, which can complement the standard terms of sale with additional points on item returns, refunds, and more. According to the FAQ, selling with Vinted Pro is entirely free, and you can list as many second-hand items as you like at no cost, though there may be additional fees for added services to boost visibility. So if you want to do kind of promoted listings or whatever their equivalent is, that will be something that's available, but just selling will be absolutely free. Other than that, the standard buyer protection fees, a term we've been hearing a lot of here lately, will be applied and charged to the buyer at checkout. So big news. It's been a busy week over in the UK. eBay made their change, and right on the heels of it, Vinted came in and kind of stole their thunder with this. The only hiccup with this was that there was some personally identifiable information that was being posted on Vinted when this thing first went live. This was a letter to the editor over at E-commerce Bytes. I thought it might be of interest that Vinted Pro went live in the UK. The thing is, they ask for everyone's national insurance number, which is their kind of equivalent of a social security number, when creating a business account, and then proceeded to display this on each person's profile which is visible to the public. I saw lots of commenters saying that they had signed up for Vinted Pro, and as soon as they saw this, they took everything down. Obviously, a huge, huge problem. Lots of people, the writer said, shut down their account after this. The sellers also discussed the issue on industry boards, including a thread on Reddit. In another Reddit thread, a seller shared a screenshot of a message from Vinted dated October 4th, stating that it had, quote, taken immediate action to address this incorrect configuration and are happy to inform you that the issue has been resolved. We apologize for any inconveniences. If you signed up for Vinted, did you notice this and did it go away? This, unlike what we just talked about with eBay, it appears to have been obviously some sort of technical issue, somebody made a mistake in the coding. And not only did they own it, they very quickly fixed it. They didn't try to sweep it under the rug. They owned it. They admitted it. They said they'd fixed it and they corrected it. Hat tip to the folks over at Vinted for recognizing it, getting it done, and not trying to sugarcoat it. Hey, we did it. We fixed it. Happy to inform you that it's been resolved. So good on them. If you're in the UK, let us know. Did you sign up for this and are you going to use it? And are you going to leave eBay over all of the issues that we've talked about this week? That's going to put a wrap on this week's reselling news. If this is the kind of content that you find helpful as a reseller, I do this show pretty much every week. It posts on Monday to YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you are a YouTube member, you do get it early, sometimes as early as Saturday. So please consider doing that as well. If you're not currently a subscriber to the YouTube channel or a follower of the podcast, please consider doing that. We would love to have you on board. With all of that having been said, it is time for this enormous What Sold update. This is a big one. I was finishing up the edits on this morning. I was like, holy cow, there are literally 18 of these things. This is insane. There's a handful of things here that are not books. This first one, Santa's Got a GTO, Rodney on the Rock, Bingheimer Christmas CD from KROQ. It's a rare holiday CD. This is new in its package. I've had these things for, gosh, I don't know, 3+ years, probably maybe almost 4. This was part of the big 8300 CD lot buy I did back in July of, I think it was 2020. So I think these are 4 years old. I had them listed for a huge premium because nobody else had them and there wasn't anything going on. They are part of my current batch of 60% off stuff, trying to get rid of these, and it sold finally for $24. So you can kind of get an idea where I had this thing priced. $24 plus shipping. The order total was $31.18. I paid $4.60 in fees, $2.18 in promoted listings general fees. Shipping was $4.55. This did go ground advantage for less than what it would have cost to send it media mail. Cost of goods sold, just 4 cents. My total costs were $13.92, meaning I made a net profit of $17.26. Another one on eBay. This is an item I just picked up last week. Vintage Australian Aboriginal Art Playing Cards, the Rathdown Club Series Complete. This is 2 decks of cards, one of which was sealed. The other one had its kind of cellophane wrap with it, but it had been broken open. The cards didn't look like they had been used, but with the box being open and one set of them kind of being loose, I did advertise this as used. Nonetheless, sold it almost right away for $24.99 plus shipping. The order total was $34.81. I paid $3.92 in fees. Shipping was $5. Cost of goods sold, I bought these for $1 at an estate sale just last week. My total cost $13.09. I netted $21.72 on this old deck of cards. This was an interesting one. I talked about an estate sale, man, back in the summer. It was probably June. And I cleaned it out at the end. And I bought a couple of 100 books. And there was a lot of Korean language stuff in there. And I've been kind of slowly listing those 2 or 3 a week. I'm not trying to spend a whole bunch of time on it because I don't expect them to be fast sellers. So I'm just kind of using them. When I finish a tub, I'll do a couple of those just to kind of round out things. But I have sold a few. This one, The Korean Data Set from 1995. It's a Korean language reference book published by a company called United Communications. It essentially was a book of businesses and the government results and all kinds of, almost like an almanac of things in South Korea from 1995. Really unusual book. I picked it up in like I said, in a bulk buy. My cost was 41 cents. This sold over on Etsy for $24.99. The order total was $32.86. I paid $3.21 in the regular fee. Someone saw this apparently on Google because I paid Etsy's 15% ad fee, offsite ad fee, $4.56. My total costs were $16.05, so my net profit on this 1995 Korean data set was $16.81. And that's the wrong button. And moving on, still over on Etsy, the Physical Chemistry of Metals, Metallurgy and Metallurgical Engineering series from 1953. I talk about these old textbooks, I feel like, pretty much every week. I was at an estate sale on Friday. I watched bookseller after bookseller after bookseller walk by a big shelf full of these kind of books, and I just walked over and grabbed them all. Some of them I've already listed this morning at prices like this, $24, $25, $27. People just overlook these old physics and metallurgy textbooks, and thank goodness they do, because I love them. This was listed for $29.99. It was caught up in my 10% sale on Etsy, so it sold for $26.99 plus shipping. The order total, $35.44. This was another one in the offsite ad program, so I've got $3.06 in fees, $4.97 in the offsite ad fee, $5.38 in shipping. This was part of a big estate lot buy at 94 cents, cost of goods sold. My total costs $16.67, so I made $18.77 net profit. Still on Etsy, the collected works of Nathaniel Hawthorne, the Giant International series from the 1920s. I've talked about these books before. It's been a while since I sold one, but these are pretty good. This was a big set of books published throughout the 1920s that collected the works of all these kind of classic authors. I picked up a whole bunch of them for $1 a piece at an estate sale. Gosh, I don't know, probably 2 years ago. And most of them have brought pretty decent money. This was listed for $29.99 and sold for $26.99 plus shipping. The order total, $35.44. I paid $3.46 in fees to Etsy, $6.13 to ship it. My cost of goods sold was $1. My total cost, $12.91. Net profit, $22.53 on this old book from the 1920s. Back over to eBay, you saw a couple of these probably 6 or 7 weeks ago. Sagetsu textbook, Ikebana Kake, parts 1 and 2. Japanese and English books about Ikebana and flower arrangement. A really nice condition. These were published in 2017. I picked up 3. There was volumes 1 and 2 combined, volumes 3 and 4 combined, and volume 5 by itself, if I remember correctly. And they have all sold. These were part of a free book pickup I did, so my cost of goods sold was nothing. I had it listed for $31.99. I sent out an offer and sold it for $27.19 plus shipping. I paid $5.06 in fees, $2.42 in promoted listings general fees, $4.63 to ship it. No cost of goods sold. My total costs $14.93. This book netted me $19.71. Another one on eBay, Normandy Farms, The Land and Legacy of Richard H. Grant Sr., a 2002 illustrated paperback, pretty good size, probably 8.5 by 11. Not quite coffee table sized book, but a pretty good sized book. This was one I picked up in an estate buyout. Again, cost of goods sold just 51 cents on this thing. Sold for $27.99 plus shipping. Fees, $5.27. Promoted listing general fee again for $2.53. Cost $5.38 to ship. My total cost $15.74, leading me to a net profit of $20.43. Another one on Etsy and another of these old textbooks, Electron Tube Circuits. Second edition by Samuel Seeley from 1958, a McGraw-Hill illustrated hardcover in really nice condition. This was part of a big lot that I bought of, again, kind of these engineering and metallurgy books at a house literally right around the corner from mine back in, I think, June or early July. Had it listed for $35.99, sent out an offer and sold it for $30.59 plus shipping. The order total was $38.19. Fees $5.34 and a $2.57 ad fee. Cost to ship it was $6.09, so I made 4 whole cents on the shipping. Cost of goods sold 94 cents. My total costs $16.41. Net profit $21.78. Another one on eBay. I've talked about bound magazines from time to time, and it's not something you come across super often. But here's one that sold. Antiques Magazine, volume, I think it's 56, 66? Yeah, 66. There. If I had read a little further, I had it right in there. Ryan. This was 6 issues, July through December of 1954, in a hardcover binding. Really nice, pretty good condition magazine about antiques. Really kind of cool. I picked up 2 of these. This is the first one that has sold. Had it listed for $34.99, sent out an offer and sold it for $31.49 plus shipping. Fees $6.23 plus, again, a promoted listing general fee of $3.03. I did send this Ground Advantage, so I saved quite a bit on the shipping. This is pretty heavy. $7.27 in shipping. The purchase price was just 54 cents in a bulk buy. Total cost $19.76. Net profit $23.55. Another old book, The Fires of Youth, a love story by Beulah Pointer Chelsea. Beulah Pointer. This is Chelsea House is the publisher. It's a really hard to find hardcover from 1929. It has been in my possession for a while. It was on sale for $40. I received an offer of $35. I own it for like 51 cents, so I went ahead and sold this thing. $35 plus shipping. The order total was $41.73. Again, $6 and a penny in fees. Ad fees of $3.34. Just $4.63 to ship this thing out. Cost of goods sold 51 cents. I spent a total of $16.59 to complete this transaction and make a net profit of $25.14. Back over to Etsy. I was at the house I just mentioned that's around the corner from me and picked up a big lot of old woodworking books. This was Study Guides in Woodwork by J. Howard Waddell from 1938. It's a workbook published by the McCormick and Mathers Company, paperback, literally like a workbook that would accompany a textbook. Interesting old piece. I had it listed for $39.99, sold it for $35.99 plus shipping. The order total $43.97. I paid $4.21 in fees, $4.63 to ship this. 91 cents was my cost of goods sold. Total cost $13.10 to make a total net profit of $30.87. Again, these old textbooks and old woodworking books, when I see them, I almost always will at least take the time to look them up. Another one on eBay. I talk about yearbooks all the time, but this was a really unusual one. So this was the Tokushima Municipal High School Reminiscences from 1976. It's a yearbook from Japan. It was at an estate sale that I was doing a buyout on. I'm into this for 51 cents. Couldn't really find any comps on it. I did find a few just like kind of generic Japanese yearbooks to give me some kind of idea. I listed it for $44.99. It got a watcher. I sent out an offer and sold it for $38.24 plus shipping. Order total $46.40. I paid $5.56 in fees, $6.13 to ship it. Again, my cost of goods sold was just 51 cents, so my total costs $14.23. Net profit $32.17. Another old book from 1945 by L.A. Wadsworth, The Bronze Arrow Mystery. Published by Reinhardt and Company. It's an ex-library hardcover. Was not really in very good shape, but there just weren't really many of these out there. Listed and sold for $39.99. This was part of the big 15,000 book lot that we talk about every week. So I'm into this for a whole 4 cents. Order total was $46.41. I paid $6.40 in fees. Ad fee of $3.12. It cost $4.63 to ship. With my 4-cent cost of goods sold, my total costs ended up being $15.98. The net profit, $30.43. It's a good thing there's no money in books, right? What do you know? Another metallurgy book. You'd think I knew what I was doing. Fundamentals of Physical Metallurgy by John D. Verhoeven from 1975. This one's not really even all that old. published by the John Wiley Company. It was a hardcover in pretty good condition. Had it listed for $47.99, sent out an offer and sold this thing for $40.79 plus shipping. The order total was $46.92. I spent $6.71 in fees, $6.13 to ship it. My cost of goods sold, this was part of a purchase I did of these books at $2 a piece from somebody's basement. Gosh, probably back in March. Total cost $14.84. My net profit $32.08. Hey, what do you know? A sale on Mercari. This is one I just picked up. It was part of that big lot I talked about last week of 650 odd books for $250. Can we delay a greenhouse warming? This was an EPA report from November of 1983. It's a second corrected edition that was published in early 1984, I guess, is when it actually came out based on the catalog number. Not really in very good condition. It was warped. It was kind of dirty. It had obviously been used and studied by whoever had it. But the only other one I could find a comp on had sold for right around $40. So I listed this for $39.99 plus shipping everywhere else and $45 free shipping on Mercari, which is where it sold. $45 free shipping. The order total was $48.15. Of course, there are no seller fees on Mercari, so I have no fees at all. It cost me $5.38 to ship. My cost of goods sold was like 38 cents. So my total costs just $8.91. So this $45 sale netted me $39.24. Man, I wish I sold more stuff on Mercari. Oh. Another sale over on Etsy. It was a really good week on Etsy. Normally, I'm doing 6 a week on Etsy. This week it was, I think, 12, so it was really, really good. Our San Francisco, published in 1964 by Doubleday. It was an illustrated hardcover in its dust jacket. It was essentially just a photo book. It had 221 pictures in it of San Francisco from prior to 1964. It was in reasonably good condition. The dust jacket was a little worn, but overall, pretty nice. This was also part of that big 15,000 book lot. So I was into this thing for 4 cents and it sold for $49.49 on a discount plus shipping on Etsy. I paid $5.77 in fees, $6.13 to ship it. My total costs $17.26, leading to a net profit of $44.43. Big sale on eBay. Individually, none of these was particularly fantastic. But this is another example of why I don't mind to list kind of these relatively inexpensive $6, $7, $8 kind of books, because sometimes you find somebody that comes along and discovers you have a whole bunch of Ellery Queen books and they buy them all. And that is exactly what happened here. They bought, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books in total. They bought one, and then I think they went to my store and realized I had a whole bunch more, and they made another purchase of 5 more. So this is 6 books in total for a grand total of $52.19. So again, it's not a huge sale, but if I don't list these $6, $7, $8 items, I have no chance to make this $52 sale. So that's why I do this. And maybe I'm a little bit different than some, but this is bread and butter stuff for me. I don't mind this at all. $9.44 paid in shipping. The order total was $66.13. I paid $9.31 in fees. $8.95 to ship. These again went out ground advantage, cheaper than they would have been media mail. My cost of goods sold total for these 6 books was only $1.20. So my total cost was $23.96, leading me to a net profit of $42.17. Another old book. I think this is our flip of the week, if I'm not mistaken. Commentaries on American Law, Volume 2, 4th edition by James Kent from 1840. This was kind of a leather hardcover in pretty rough condition. The front cover was about halfway separated from the spine. The leather was peeling and flaking and cracked. The pages were well tanned and very foxed. But it's coming up on 200-year-old book at this point. Pretty cool piece. In subpar condition, it still brought $74.99. I'll take it. In really good condition, this is probably a $150 book all day. $74.99 plus shipping. The order total was $88.62. I paid $12.32 in fees, $6.20 in ad fees, $6.13 to ship. The cost of goods sold. This was part of a big lot for 91 cents. My total costs $32.31 for a net total of $56.31. And yes, that is in fact our flip of the week this week. So there you go. Pretty big week. If you follow me over on Instagram, you'll know already. I listed I think 104 new items this week and sold 90 some, I think it was the number. I mean, it was a busy week here at the Galaxy. Hopefully you had a busy week too. Obviously it was busy with a lot of other stuff going on as well. Crazy. Let me know in the comments, how has your week been? What do you think of all of the news that was announced this week? Again, if this is the kind of content that you like and you got something out of this today, please do me a favor if you're watching on YouTube and hit that thumbs up button and let the algorithm know that this is a productive use of all of our time. Feel free to share this with anybody else that you think might appreciate it as well. Wednesday live, we are going to be talking about all things Poshmark. You may remember, gosh, it might be 2 years ago now. I had a sit-down conversation with Annette from Excess Baggage, who is a big Poshmark seller and has a huge and terrific Instagram channel. She is going to join me on Wednesday to discuss all of the changes at Poshmark and how she thinks they are going to affect business, her business, and business at large. I reached out to her the day all of this was announced and asked her what she thought, and she had some thoughts. And Wednesday, she will be sharing them with all of us. So if you are a Poshmark seller, please put that on your calendar. Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we'll be going live with Annette from Excess Baggage. As always, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time here with me. I always appreciate it. Special shout out to all of the new subscribers over the last couple of weeks. There's been, I don't know, 140 of you that have signed up to listen to this. So hopefully you are getting something out of it. I appreciate all the comments on all of the extra videos that I did this week to cover kind of these stories. I obviously appreciate everybody that took the time to view them as well. That's why I do this. So hopefully you got something out of it. And now, my friends, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.